All right, so we are looking at law of cosines. So we looked at law of sines in our last section where it was sine A over A equals sine B over B, and then you cross multiply. Remember doing that? We used that when we had a number across from a number. What did I mean by that? What do I mean by a number across from a number? What's that? Well, like on the picture. What do I mean by a number across from a number? Yes, so the angle measure and then the side across from it. Okay, now we use this when we don't have a number across from a number. Okay, so your pictures are going to look like this. Okay, you'll notice that we have a number right here, but we don't have the number that's across from it in this question mark. Okay, so we're going to use this formula up here. Now you'll notice that it starts and ends with the same letter, but one is uppercase and one is lowercase. So remember, in a triangle, the same letters are across from each other. One's uppercase, one's lowercase. So whatever the angle is right here, the side across from it is what's on that side of the equal sign. Okay, so if we have our 40-degree angle on the end, right here, we know that the side across from the 40-degree angle is going to be what's on the other side of the equal sign. Now the others, the y and the z, are just the other two sides, and it doesn't matter what order you put them in. So you can have 9 squared, 19 squared, minus 2, 9, 19. Okay, so we're just putting in those other two side lengths. Now the nice thing about this formula is you can put this into your calculator exactly like you see it right here. Okay, you don't have to take it into steps because we've got everything filled in. So I'm going to have a couple of you do that to make sure we get the same answer. If you have a calculator where you can't see what you're typing in on the line above, like you only have one line of work, you're going to have to work your way backwards through this. So starting with the cosine 40. All right, what number are we getting? $180.01? Okay, now that's not how long this is, right? We have one step left. What should we do? Yep. What's the real answer?
13.
Questions? Okay, put the numbers in, put them in the calculator, square root. Okay, so the ones where you're missing the side are pretty straightforward and easy. The ones where you're missing the angle, which is what we're going to look at, those take a few more steps, but the setup is still the same. Okay? All right, so right here. So this one we are looking for an angle measure. Now sometimes they're not going to give you which angle to start with. They're just going to say find all of the angles. But you always want to start with the angle that would be the biggest, which would be the one that's across from the biggest number. Okay, so we're going to look for x right here. So if x is our angle, we know that's what goes on the end with our cosine. So that means we're going to start with what number on the left? Yeah, it's going to be the 10. Whatever's across from that one, that's what goes over here on the other side of the equal sign. Okay, then the other two numbers we just fill into the formula. So we have 9 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 9 times 8. Now, when we have our angle that's missing right here, what we want to do is individually figure out what these numbers right here are. Okay, so let's do that first. So we've got 100, we've got 81, 64, and what's this? All right. So now I'm just going to put these two together right here. So we've got 100 equals 145 minus 144 cosine x. Now, right here, I want you to somehow highlight this or do something, but these right here are attached. You cannot take 145 minus 144. Okay, that is the most common mistake. And I say this every year, and there's still kids that get it wrong on the test. So do something so that you remember that these are attached. Okay, you cannot subtract those two numbers. So how are we going to get cosine x a little bit more alone? What should we do to both sides? Yes. Okay, so now we have negative 45 equals negative 144 cosine x. Now what? 144? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get 0 point something. Somebody tell me what that is. Equals cosine x. So we got cosine x alone. Now when we're missing the angle, what button do we use on the calculator? Yeah, the cosine negative 1. So we just do cosine negative 1 of this number right here, and we should get our answer. What's the angle measure?
71.79.
Now, let's say the directions on this problem actually said to solve the triangle, so find everything. Now that we know that this is 71.79 right here, we would now be able to use law of sines, wouldn't we? That would be a little bit faster than doing all of this work right here. So let's just set this one up just to remind ourselves, because you may want to be doing this in your homework when they tell you to find everything. So what would I set up for this equation? Sine what? Over 10, and then sine any letter. Let's say we're doing, let's pick a new letter. Let's do sine of y, and let's say this is angle y right here. And that would be over what? 9. And then you could cross multiply. Okay, so that would be a little bit faster route to find the other angles. And then the last angle would be the easiest by just doing what?
Adding them together.
Yep, subtract from 180 and you find your last angle. Okay. All right, last one right here. This is another one that's pretty straightforward because it's the side that's missing, so we get to put the long equation into the calculator. But tell me how I would set it up. What's the first thing I would write down on the left? Got x squared
9 squared equals 6 squared minus 2, 8.
and then cosine 110. So what is that number?
$132.83.
And then the square root.
11.5.
Questions?